Okay, now we have a game against
Minev, he was the
Minev
Bulgarian champion, and we played
at Olympiad.
this game at the Olympiad from Havana in '66, where I could win against Fischer. This
Bobby
was a
Fischer.
big story.
Yes.
Okay, this was also a very important game because it was decisive for both, for Bulgaria and for us.
This was before Bobby game or
Yeah,
after?
before I played against Bobby the pre-last game of the Olympics.
Okay.
Pre-last
Order.
round. Okay, Bishop, this is the main line from the so-called Slav defense, this one. All right, so knight a6, again, Soviet analysis for black. You see, knight a6 is a new move. Usually black plays with e6 first, and puts the bishop in b4 and so on, All right, knight a6. Okay, bishop takes e4, knight b4, castle, of course, no? Because the threat was already knight c2 check,
Yeah.
Castle, e6. Okay, queen e2, theory, everything. Knight d5. Good. The threat was already very unpleasant. Immediately e4 with tempo. Now, if white plays immediate e4, you have to sacrifice a pawn, Some very unclear situation. Okay, some initiative, but it's not very clear. Probably black can defend if he plays very well. But it's not necessary to give the pawn. So knight e5, no? Knight e5, yes. Very clear the idea. White wants to play later on f3 and e4, Have some more space and initiative, see. So knight e5, bishop e7, f3, okay, bishop g6, okay, rook d1, and here queen c7. Provocative, Why provocative? Probably it was a little bit better to play e4, but if he, to play castle.
Yes.
But if he played castle, after e4, the white idea is clear, and white is clearly better, in our position. Much too much space, and the black bishop from g6, is doing nothing for the moment, and that is white advantage, clear, So he hopes to force you to give the white bishop later on, if you want the initiative. So, okay, white accepts the fact and he plays immediately e4. So now after e4, knight b6, a5, white accepts the fact that he gives the two bishops, yes. But he has a very strong initiative here, and he wants to demonstrate that black has some big problems because the king is still in e8, he couldn't castle for the moment, So queen takes. If you are forced, you can take back the pair of bishop by taking in g6 later on. But white doesn't want, because the knight in e5 is much stronger than the bishop from g6, doing nothing for the moment, So the problem here was that black couldn't play immediately castle,
Yes.
If he wanted to play immediate castle, after a6, big trouble again,
After a6?
a6, because he can't move the pawn from b7, he loses immediately the pawn from b7, from c6.
Yes.
If white has time to take in b7, the structure is destroyed, for black. And the advantage is clear, very big. So he has to be very careful, move by move. Now, if you play a6, he has time to push the pawn, and he doesn't lose the pawn immediately. All right, so bishop f4. Again, problem for black. And he plays queen d8. Okay, queen d8, queen b3. And this was his hope, knight h5. Okay, now bishop back, no? And queen c7. All right, after queen c7, I played finally a6. Yeah, a6. Now, okay, he has to take a decision. What to do?
But wasn't better for him here to castle?
He loses the pawn.
Yeah.
Queen takes b7, White is doing always something.
Pressure.
Yeah. So it's move by move. The only moves, it seems, only moves for black. So, okay, a6, b5. What can he do, If he didn't play b5, if he played, for instance, okay, b6.
Yes.
b6. After rook takes rook ac1, The immediate threat was knight b5, fantastic move, If he made, for instance, castle now, after knight b5, you can resign with black.
Why?
If he loses that with tempo, the pawn from c6 is finished.
Okay.
So again, it's move by move. He can only hope that somehow he can escape, but move by move. So, right, a6, b5. And now what to do? Okay, white is much better, but you have to do something very quickly, So here, queen b6. Now it seems that black somehow, could resist. Now you have to find the next good moves to try to demonstrate why you are much better. So not fantastic move, knight a2. Why is very strong move? Because now you want to come with tempo to b4. Now again, he can't castle immediately because he's losing immediately after knight d7. He loses at least the exchange.
Yes.
So right, he has to lose another tempo. Now he has to take in a6. It's the only chance. And now with tempo, knight b4. If he takes in b4, for the moment you gave the pawn, but the king is still in e8, and the attack continues, all the time. So now after queen b7, finally we could take the pawn from c6. That is the main pawn, the most important, the pawn from c6. The main defender of this position. So we took in c6, and finally he could,
Castle.
castle. But it's too late. Now white is coming very quickly, So now very simple d5. Look at the position. He has the two bishops, but we have fantastic initiative with white, The pawn in d5 wins usually in any position. We threaten d6 and bishop c5. Very strong initiative. What can he do? I mean, if nothing else, we can also win a pawn in e6. All right. So the game continuation, desperate enough, was bishop d8. But I told you, it's too late. So I took in e6. Now again, knight f6, hoping somehow to hold the position, even if he lost the pawn, but somehow as a hope, Okay, I took in f7. He took. I took. Very simple again. Now he took. And now, surprise, we took. And he resigned, no? He resigned because he loses at least a piece. Now, if he takes with the rook, he loses the bishop from d8 with tempo, If he loses, if he takes, here he resigns immediately, Piece up. If he takes with the king, after knight e5, he loses the rook from c8. If knight e5 check. Everything with tempo. So, catastrophe immediately after the opening. We analyzed a little bit afterwards together.
Yes.
Because he was a very strong player, Minev, and he couldn't understand where he could go wrong, because it seems it was no mistake from black, but everything was forced, So it's a very nice game, and in that time, of course, it was very well, considered by everybody.
Nice.
Very nice demonstration. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
Thank you, Mr. Gheorghiu.
Yeah.